Hello Exiles, this is Ryan from Behind Eyes Gaming and welcome to another Path of Exile video. In today's video I'm going to go over my Vaal Lightning Strike Deadeye, which uses a lot of very interesting mechanics both offensively and defensively, and is one of the most fun builds I've ever played. Offensively, it uses Reverse Chill with the Winterweave ring, and then it also has Tailwind of course, and uses Chain to bounce off walls, giving incredible clear speed and improving single target DPS. Using a Claw with crit and very fast attack speed, we're able to synergize well with the Trinity support, along with very high elemental damage. Defensively, we have a bunch of forms of less damage taken along with dodge and spell dodge. We use the Wind Dancer notable along with Kintsugi, the unique body armor, as well as the Wind Ward Ascendancy notable. These all stack a huge amount of less damage taken, along with giving us the ability to not get hit very frequently due to blind, dodge, and evasion. I hope you enjoy this build as much as I do, and let's jump into it. Alright, here's the character. I'm going to go over the gear, then the skill gem links, and then I'll go over the skill tree itself. But before that, I just want to talk about what this character is good at and what this character isn't particularly good at. What this character is good at is that it is extremely good at fast clearing maps, at delving, at doing blighted maps actually, surprisingly. Even though they're pretty open, and even better in more closed ones. It's really good at doing ultimatums, and it's an alright bosser as long as the boss is in a small room, preferably one that is smaller than your screen, so something, like this. If you get a small room boss, easy. Not so great for bossing otherwise though. So if you're looking for a real good endgame boss killer, someone to take down Cirrus over and over again, for instance, this may not be the one for you. But if you want to just speed clear maps, if you want to do a lot of delving, if you want to do a lot of blighted maps, really good at that kind of thing. Pretty good at heist as well. So not exactly an all-rounder, but very good at a large quantity of the different things that you can be doing. So I would highly recommend it for any of that kind of stuff. And of course, the league mechanic is very important as well. So let's go over the gear. I'm going to first go over the gear that is important and necessary for making the build work as far as the reverse chill. As you can see, I'm not wearing an Impulsa. Instead, I'm wearing Replica Winterheart, which is another method of becoming unaffected by shock. The reason I'm doing this is because I want to be using a Kintsugi, but I also don't want to be shocked all the time because we are going to be shocking ourselves using the Malagaro's Restraint, which makes it so that shocks you cause are reflected back to you. Now, we combine this with, right here, Cold Conduction, which you can get on medium cluster jewels. You can get cold conduction and it makes enemies chilled by your hits shocked and enemies shocked by your hits chilled. This actually makes it so you're chilling yourself. And because we have the last piece of our puzzle here, Winterweave, we are getting the ability to reverse the effect of chill on ourselves. So we chill for about 32-33%. That's going to give us 32 or 33% action speed, along with some action speed we get from Tailwind, which goes up based on how often we're using skills. So we end up getting quite a lot of action speed. Our attacks per second are already 0.18. It goes down quite a bit once we have all of our action speed reduction, and we're attacking about as fast as a Cyclone, as you saw in the footage. But we're not Cyclone. This is also good with multi-strike, which gives us more melee attack speed. So lots and lots of forms of more attack speed. Yes, you could go Berserker and get more attack speed that way as well if you have Tailwind on boots. But the reason I'm doing this is because I want to use Chain. So we have that going. So those are the core components. We need shock immunity, which we get through Replica Winterheart, the reverse chill, the restraint, and then lastly the cluster jewel. So we have all of that going. I am using a Lightning Strikes Fire 3 additional projectiles. This helmet could be a lot better. I literally just threw a I just threw an essence at it. I think it wasn't even that good of an essence. I'm pretty sure I just used a Shrieking Essence of Greed instead of Deafening even. But we got some hybrid life as well, so it worked out. Yeah, so threw that on it, and yeah, just got some life that we needed, and that's pretty much it. I think the intelligence is helpful as well, as our intelligence is not super great without some of it from gear. Get like 41 from this. But yeah, the helm enchant is really nice because basically a third of those projectiles are going to bounce off walls, plus it's going to increase our clear, plus we are actually, I anointed on my amulet Tribal Fury, which gives strike skills target one additional nearby enemy. Before that, I was using, let's see if I can find it here. I was using this pair of gloves, which I bought for 10 chaos, just gives strike skills target one nearby additional enemy, and instead I anointed the very cheap starting one, which was Divine Judgment. It's quite cheap to anoint this. So had that going. So got that. Ring, this is just life resistances and some elemental damage with attack skills. I don't even think I have the highest craft on that, so I could probably craft on that. I have the shield, which has pretty high resistances, some dodge, attack speed. I try to get attack speed on as much as I can. In fact, I get attack speed, 2% attack speed per node on my large cluster jewel, which has the very helpful Calamitous, as well as a martial prowess. So got some stuff going there. And I have more stuff. I'll talk about the cluster jewels a little bit more when we get into the skill tree, because there's actually some pretty important cluster jewel stuff. I'm using an Oscarm with attacks have plus to critical strike chance. This is pretty easy to get. Does lower our chaos resistance, which is also the part we're weakest to. We are taking, since a lot of the chaos degens are not from hits, they're from things like desecrated ground, that kind of thing, or just like clouds. We're actually taking an incredibly reduced amount of damage despite our minus 76 chaos resist. But yeah, we're taking a lot reduced. But the moment we get hit, all of our minus damage taken goes away, and all of a sudden we will immediately die to any chaos degen, especially with our low health. So that's something to keep in mind. I did have a little bit more chaos resistance, and I could probably get some on the helmet and maybe on the shield and maybe on the ring as well. But yeah, it doesn't come up too often, but when it does, immediately die to chaos degens 100% if you get hit while you're near a chaos degen, which can happen in ultimatums, which is why I rarely choose the chaos cloud, especially not in like the stone circles where I have to actually periodically stand still. As far as the claw, it's just gotta have high elemental damage. Now, in order to make Trinity work, I have to have a good amount of a non-lightning damage source, so I'm using cold damage in this case. So, as you can see, we do a good amount of cold damage, and because of the big range of lightning damage, the cold damage is gonna often hit higher than the lightning damage on our hits, which is gonna ensure that Trinity stays at max resonance pretty much at all times. So that's really nice, really important. Got that going. Here is the claw that I used previously. So it's not particularly good, and I think that's the one. So it's not the greatest claw. It was pretty cheap. Also, you can just craft claws with essences. Use a Deafening Essence of Hatred on a fast base attack speed claw. Like this Hellion's Paw, and yeah, that should be good enough, especially with the base damage of Lightning Strike. You get a bunch of base lightning damage, and if you happen to get other elemental damage and crit and everything, so in the beginning, just slam an essence onto a claw, and you should be good to go to get the build started, or you can just buy one. This was an Exalt, I think, for this, and then I crafted Crit Multi because it had an open suffix. So already had attack speed, crit chance, and decent elemental damage. Just crafted some Crit Multi and good to go. I'm a little lacking in Crit Multi because I'm using a lot of Abyss jewels rather than, your standard regular jewels, but I could definitely have a lot more crit multi than I have. Currently sitting at 348, which is not super great, but yeah. And having more crit multi might help with the single target a little bit, which is pretty much the only part that this build's really lacking. Using Itziri's Step. Itziri's Step is really nice. Gives spell dodge. This isn't a particularly well rolled. I definitely would like to have 16% spell dodge. Also getting spell dodge from the Oscarm, by the way, so our spell dodge is quite good even before we end up hitting our elusive, which we can get. So I'm actually using Nightblade, which gives a lot of crit multi when we have it up. Which actually does put us up to a fairly high crit multi and also crit chance. It's really very, very good. And the elusive, which we have some elusive effect as well, will put us up to nearly max dodge and spell dodge. But as it is, we have 44 dodge and 52 spell dodge. So pretty good. Lots of evasion too, 7,568. Not like insanely high or anything, but pretty high. So... and we could definitely get that higher. We could get a shield with better evasion than this with similar stats. It would just be very, very expensive or a very big project for crafting. So I don't have that going on. You can see my life isn't very low, but I don't die that often. Well, that's probably not true. I probably do die pretty often, but it's mostly because I'm a bad player and less to do with the build. I promise the build is good. You could also not use all offensive flasks, which is what I'm doing. I'm using a diamond flask, a silver flask, which has attack speed on it, so we're getting a ton of attack speed from the onslaught, which is really good with the more multiplier from all of our increased action speed. Itziri's Promise, which gives us a little bit of leech. We get a lot of leech from the claw nodes as it is, and then of course Quicksilver of Adrenaline, which is really good. And then bleed immunity. I don't have a jewel with corrupted blood because I wanted to just use really strong jewels instead. But yeah, that's pretty much the gear. I think I talked about everything. So let's talk about the skills. I'm using Vaal Lightning Strike. I got a 19% one for very, very cheap. I think it was like 2 chaos. I'm actually not going to cite the price of a lot of things because I've had complaints about how my prices are inaccurate, and that's because as the meta change, different things will change in price. So if somebody sees this video half a year from now, maybe the build's still relevant, but the prices are going to be way off, and I'm going to get complaints about that. So I'm not going to really state the price, but try to get a Vaal Lightning Strike with as high quality as possible because it gives both projectile speed and damage. I probably could have gotten a 20% or maybe even a 23%, but 19% was pretty cheap, and I just stuck with it. Have Nightblade. As I explained previously, Nightblade gives us elusive, which is very, very powerful. It can only be used with claws or daggers, so taking advantage of that is very good. Gives us a ton of crit multi, some crit chance. Very, very, very powerful offensively and defensively. Trinity. Trinity is, if you're using elemental damage, Trinity is the best support skill. Just flat out the best support gem. It gives more multiplier than anything else, along with a bunch of elemental penetration, which is very, very strong. So Trinity, you need Trinity. You want to try to get a 21, 23 if you can. I definitely could right now, but since I'm probably going to move on from this build, I'm not going to bother, and this is good enough. Multi-strike. Multi-strike gives us more attack speed. Once again, you want an awakened multi-strike, but those are like 25 plus exalts at the moment, and I don't want to buy one, so I'm not going to. A more affordable awakened chain or awakened gem is awakened chain, which gives us a lot of benefit. I'm not going to really state the price, but it's much cheaper than awakened multi-strike. I think it was like, I don't know, but Very, very much cheaper, and it is quite strong. Chain plus 3 times instead of plus 2 like regular chain, plus a much better quality bonus, giving us a good amount of attack and cast speed. Attack speed is excellent on this build. More attack speed is better. And then lastly, elemental damage with attacks. Of course, with this one you would want awakened. I could definitely afford an awakened elemental damage with attacks right now, but I'm not going to get it because, yeah, this build is going to be done soon. I'm actually not using... So one of the things that I could definitely be using to increase damage is anger. You can see I'm actually not using that many offensive auras. I'm using flesh and stone because I find for survivability it's really, really insane. You just stay in sand stance all the time, and that gives you blind as well as another less damage taken multiplier. So I'm just going to count out the less damage taken multipliers we have here. We have 20% from Kintsugi. We have 20% less with Wind Dancer. We have 30% or up to 30% with Wind Ward, and we very quickly use our skills because we attack so fast, so we almost always have 10 Gale Force. So that's already 70%. And then we're getting an additional 11% from Flesh and Stone, from enemies that are at a distance. So things that are shooting us from far away, if they do happen to hit us, if we happen to get hit by an archer, we're going to be taking a whopping 81% less damage. That is incredible. It is so good. And then blind nearby. Blind synergizes incredibly well with evasion and dodge. So yeah, I think Flesh and Stone, it's more worthwhile to have that with anger. I only have a level 2 Enlighten right now. I could add like a Vitality or something to give myself a little bit more regeneration, something along those lines, or I could find another smaller thing to fit in because I still have a lot of unreserved mana. But I like to have a little bit of an extra boost because if we're not leeching, we do run out of mana pretty quickly with how fast. I'm almost always leeching, but it would just be nice. And then precision, of course. I just tried corrupting this to get it to level 21, and it went down to level 19, literally right before this video. So yeah, normally I'd have a level 21, obviously. Our accuracy is 100% both ways, though, so it's good to go. It gives us a little crit chance as well. Herald of Ice. Use this for a few reasons. One, it gives us more cold damage, which helps keep Trinity up. And two, the explosions when we freeze enemies. I actually have a lot of freeze chance on this build. I get some freeze chance down here, 10% down there. I have a little bit of freeze chance here, 10% here. And I am using freeze, blast freeze, which I'll talk about later. And yeah, that might be it, but yeah, I have some freeze chance, which means we are going to get some benefit from Herald of Ice exploding, helping with clear. When we shatter things, they don't have on death effects, which is really nice. So Herald of Ice is great. Definitely a must use for this build. Then I'm using Dash, Second Wind, and I have it enhanced leveling. I don't have my Dash quantitied, or qualitied rather. I don't have it qualitied other than the enhance, so obviously ideally I would have both Second Wind and Dash qualitied, but since I'm quitting, I'm not going to have that. Hydrosphere, I have that with Culling Strike. Since I have it up during boss fights, Hydrosphere is incredible. Let me tell you why Hydrosphere is so good on this build. It does a lot of things for us. First of all, things chain off the Hydrosphere. Second of all, we have Tribal Fury. Strike skills target one additional nearby enemy. We can actually strike, if we put this in between ourselves and a boss and position properly, we can hit the Hydrosphere and the boss, and then we can get 2 strikes going at once on the boss, plus we get the pulse of the Hydrosphere, plus we get all of the additional projectiles. So we're firing a total of 10 projectiles currently, And actually, I believe it's 12. Yeah, 12 because of endless munitions. So we're firing 12. That means we're firing 24 projectiles, plus if they're near a wall, out of those 24, about 30% of them are going to bounce because of the ricochet, which is going to increase our damage even further. So this is really, really strong Hydrosphere, and you need it for single target damage with Lightning Strike, in my opinion. Blood Range gives us Frenzy charges and attack speed. It's very good. I'm using Frost Bomb. You need to use Frost Bomb nowadays to get around Maven because of the line 75% reduced life regeneration rate. That's literally it. The cold exposure is actually pretty nice as well, since we do such a large amount of cold damage, but the primary reason we're using it is to get around Maven regeneration. Otherwise, some boss fights will last an insanely long time. I tried doing Shaper, and after dying twice to Shaper because of the heals, I just went and bought Frost Bomb, and I was able to complete the fight much more easily. I don't think I would have been able to complete it at all with the Maven regen without Frost Bomb. So yeah, get Frost Bomb. Then we're running Immortal Call, cast on damage taken, increased duration. There's probably some more gems I could slot in, but you know, running short on buttons to press, so I didn't see anything as like pressing. So that's the gems. Let's go over the skill tree. First I want to talk about some of the key points. So key points here are going to be, first of all, you absolutely do need the cold conduction to make this build work. So this is #1 priority. I believe this gem is required 54, and I believe this is required 53. So the build goes fully online at level 54 when you slot this in. I don't know if the passive makes it that, but yeah, around 53, 54, you're going to be able to slot this in, and the real build begins, and you really feel it. So that's the most important thing. Then, of course, we have Acro Phase Acro with Wind Dancer. Defensively, very powerful. Getting some damage with weapons penetrate elemental resistance from both down here in Primeval Force and Forces of Nature. Life is not a high priority, so you just get the good efficient life, the stuff you need to go through. In the beginning, unless you have really good gear, you're going to need Primal Spirit to level gems and stuff. In fact, I can't even spec out of it now. It would actually be quite nice to be able to spec out of this, but we'd get 2 more points, which I guess would probably just go into life and evasion and something else. But yeah, I'm very much lacking in strength. I have to take prowess as well. So between these two, I'm getting 50 out of my 84 strength just from prowess and primal spirit. I go through the evasion and life, get to finesse, and then, of course, lots of crit multi, all of the claw stuff, and the most important thing to point out: do not get elemental focus. I know it has effective non-damaging elements, which will increase our speed, but it's actually gives you a chance to avoid elemental ailments, which is bad. So that means we also can't get thick skin or any of these, because it gives us a chance to avoid elemental ailments. We need to chill ourselves to get our speed. So we do not want any of these, and we do not want this. So don't get that. I'm using a lot of life and a bunch of elemental damage jewels, abyss jewels here. So Murderous Eye, looking for elemental damage. This one has effective aura skills, which doesn't actually benefit us that much. Some light recovery from Mana Leech, which actually does help us. We don't have these min-maxed. You can get better jewels. Most of these were fairly budget. Yeah, like maybe 20 to 30 chaos. You can get slightly worse versions that'll be just fine for a lot cheaper, but once again, prices may change, so I'm not going to comment on that too much. And then, yeah, all the claw crit stuff, it's very simple. The cool thing is we have this little thing to trick shot, and one of the nice things about this is you get some chaining range. So we get on these 2 travel nodes chaining range, which increases our damage by and clear by a surprising amount since we're using chain. So very, very strong there. I would highly recommend getting these. Very nice. We're lacking in resistances a little bit since we're fitting so many uniques into the build. So as a result, I have to get survivalist, or I'm not going to have enough lightning resist to stay overcapped. This means I also can't really run elemental weakness maps, or I could if I replaced, say on my diamond flask, probably gave myself curse immunity, which I should do because I have my diamond flask up all the time. So yeah, just roll curse immunity on your diamond flask here and you'll be just fine. Can run elemental weakness maps. And yeah, that's pretty much all the important parts. You just get life. The projectile speed from this area is pretty nice. Projectile speed overall is pretty good, but you don't want to go too out of your way to get projectile speed. You'll get some from quality on lightning strike, and that is pretty solid. I mean, the projectiles are pretty quick, as you can see. So they usually don't run out of steam anytime soon. And that is pretty much the build. As far as I didn't even think too much about these, so I'm using Soul of Ralkesh. I could probably optimize these a little bit, and I believe I helped Alira. So if I go passives, I can see 0 deal with the bandit. So yeah, I helped Alira. That gives resist, some mana regen, and crit multi, which the resists and crit multi very useful. Since we have so much mana leech, the mana regen isn't really that helpful, but yeah, other than that, that's about it. Hope you enjoyed. This has been Ryan from Behind Eyes Gaming, and I will see you next time. Bye.